All right, folks, welcome back to the channel and to another Hickory Hacker course vlog. This week I'm in Excelsior Springs, Missouri, playing pre-1935 Hickory golf with a very good golfer. I'm excited to introduce you to Austin Hardison. This is Excelsior Springs Golf Course. Austin's the assistant pro here, and he's a scratch golfer with modern clubs, and we're going to see how he fares with the Hickory clubs on this historic Tom Bendelow design. Speaking of Bendelow, he worked on this course in 1915, actually a little bit before that, laid out the first 9 holes in 1910 and 1912, and then it was stretched to 18 holes in 1915. Legendary amateur Chick Evans helped kick off the 18-hole opening in 1915 by being here on the opening day with a couple other notable golfers. We'll talk about the history of this course and the people that have played it as we go. Here's What's in the Bag, sponsored by Stewart and Jacoby. I'm using my primary pre-1935 Hickory set of all authentic irons and a Callaway Super Soft ball. And here's the scorecard for the front 9. I've played this course several times, but there are some tricky holes that just get in my head, and you'll see that in a bit. We're going to start on number 10, which is the old number 1. This is Orchard, par 4, 322 yards. Here's Austin with his very first swing.
That's not a bad first strike.
Excellent first swing with the Hickory clubs. Here's my, several hundredth swing with the Hickory clubs. Not so good, but that's kind of how I always start. I usually can pull myself out of these ruts pretty quick with a bad tee shot. And that's a pretty good second shot. Would be nice to get those very first tee shots of the day in the fairway, but yeah, we'll get there. So we played here at Excelsior Springs in mid-April. A little cool on this particular morning.
Very nice.
Leaves weren't out yet either. This is a beautiful course in the summer when the trees are in full bloom. All that said, the greens were running pretty well, and the condition of the course was great as far as I was concerned. You also noticed that the wind kicked up quite a bit here today. I didn't really notice it while we were playing, I guess just because I'm so used to playing in wind in the spring, especially in Kansas and Missouri. Not a bad start. All right, number 11, the Glide, par 4, 355 yards. Should note, too, that as I did during my Keeney Park round, which was the first pre-1935 Hickory round of the 2022 season, I'm keeping track of net score. So when you see the scores pop up, that's the net score in relation to my handicap and the course handicap on the course. I figure that's a better way for me to keep track of my progress as opposed to just keeping track of gross score, which is always going to be a pretty big number right now as I'm getting used to my new swing and playing courses for the first time. So keeping track of the net score is, in my opinion, a better way for me to gauge how I'm improving or not improving.
It's okay. Back and play. Yeah, it moved, but I was trying to get it up in the air a little bit.
You notice I'm having a little trouble with the BRASSIE lately. I was hitting it pretty well earlier in the season, first couple rounds of the season, but yeah, lately I've just been having some trouble. And this round I was able to straighten it out a little bit. But I started after this round using the Tom Stewart driving iron more off the tee, and I've had better and more consistent results with that. So I'm hoping, right now my game is at a point where I feel like if I could get off the tee and stay in the fairway, I'd have a pretty good shot because my short game's not too far off from where I want it to be. Putting in this round was a little shaky, as you see right there. But I attribute that to just not being too familiar with the greens quite yet, even though this was my 3rd round playing here over the last couple years. And I believe that was the first par for Austin early on. Great start for Austin. All right, number 12, Cherry. This is a fun par 4, a really pretty par 4.
You're making great contact.
So Austin was hitting the ball great off the tee, but he was trying to figure out how to shape the ball off the tee. The ball wasn't quite going where he expected it to, and you'll see here in the next couple holes how he adjusted. And I will say that that is the most impressive thing about watching a really good golfer play with Hickory clubs is how quick they can make those adjustments. They understand their swing so well that when they see something that they don't like, they know how to adjust that pretty quick. And you'll see here on the next, well, actually 3 holes from now, Austin will talk a little bit more about that. Yeah, I'm working on that chip shot up to the green there. That I've been hitting that pretty hot lately, and kind of come up with a little more confidence in a standard chip shot that I'm looking forward to showing you in future course vlogs. But for now, you're going to have to put up with me hitting these hot runners that go past the hole. And put me in positions where I have to 2-putt or 3-putt. All right, number 13, old number 4 is Peninsula. Par 3, 155 yards. This is the first of 2 back-to-back par 3s. There's a beautiful swing there from Austin. Just came up a little short. That was the other thing, is he's getting used to the distance that he could hit those clubs. He bought that set from me that he's using right now, and I'm pretty pleased with the set that he's got. He's got a flanged mashie that he can use. He's got a jigger that you'll see in a couple holes. I think it's a pretty good beginner set for a solid golfer like Austin. Here's another one of those runners that I need to tame. Let's see, Austin still trying to figure out how to use the niblick on chips. Nice lag. So as you can see, that chip put me in a long putt position here. And if I could just get the ball closer to the hole, obviously, I wouldn't have these long putts. But like I said, I think the chipping technique I've been using after this round that you'll see in future course vlogs is going to help me out. All right, CISSIE LOFTUS is the next par 3, 147 yards. I watched somebody get a hole-in-one on this hole the very first time I played here. That's a nice strike. Beautiful swing again from Austin. And after watching that and thinking about the hole-in-one, I did that. I think the issue there was I was using my mashie, and I still hadn't put the Tom Stewart J iron, which is my 25-degree club. It's kind of the go-between club between the driving iron, which is 19 degrees, and the mashie, which is 36. And I tried to hit that mashie way too hard. Fortunately, I got a nice recovery shot with the mashie again to put me in this spot. I was trying to use the Walter Hagen sand wedge there with the chip I'm working on. Didn't quite do what I wanted, but got it close enough to the hole for me to drop that for a bogey. Number 15, OASIS, par 4, 409 yards. This one gets in my head. It's all uphill, and you feel like you got to hit it pretty hard on every shot. This tee shot was off to the right. Looked like it might have stayed into the fairway, but then it just started peeling right. So I mentioned earlier that Austin was making some adjustments as he went with the BRASSIE, and here's a good example of that adjustment and him talking about it a little bit more.
Typically, whenever we talk about slices and draws, it's a lot of club path and club face angle. And so typically, your club face determines the direction that the ball is going to start. Your club path kind of determines, the curvature of the golf ball. So for me, it was very interesting when you told me, you're like, if you want to hit a draw, kind of toe in or turn in the toe and close the face. And my swing path always remained inside to out, and this can be kind of confusing for some players. But just because your swing path is inside to out doesn't mean that you can't necessarily hit a fade with that. A lot of people think, well, if I swing into out, I'm always going to hit a draw. It's not always the case, but in this instance, it just took closing that club face, and I think a lot of it was because of the almost what seemed to be forward offset.
Yeah.
So that was really interesting. I really tried to focus on tempo. I wanted to feel like that when I took the club away, it was nice and smooth, as well as in the transition. And when I got to the bottom, it was just to try to let that right hand kind of release.
Yeah.
Whereas, with modern day clubs, you can really hold your right hand through the shot and just turn your body really hard. But with these clubs, you have to let the club release.
All right, cool. You're going to try the jigger.
I'm going to try it. I feel like I need some distance here. So I'm going to try it.
Oh, nice shot. You hit a little fat, but you still got some distance out of it.
I'm happy with that. Very happy with that.
Yeah, I couldn't hit that club when I had it, so I'm glad that Austin's been able to get some success with that. That was his first swing with the jigger, too. And so you see here, I'm just trying to hit the ball way too hard. Compare my swing to Austin's nice smooth tempo. I mean, I tell people all the time when they're starting out, nice smooth tempo, and I can't follow my own advice a lot of times. And it's usually on holes like this where I just see a lot of distance or a lot of uphill climb that I need to cover, and I just try to hit the ball too hard. I will say, too, the rough here at Excelsior Springs is thick. You want to stay in the fairway, which is hard to do because there's a lot of movement to these fairways, up and down, and a lot of slope. So that's really the defense of this course in a lot of ways, is if you get yourself out of position or you're in the rough is thick here, even early spring. All right, number 16, fadeaway, par 4, 331 yards. I would say if there's any hole on this course that just has my number, it's this one. Seems like a straightforward enough tee shot. You can see the fairway. You see where you want to put the ball, but for whatever reason, shots like to go right, especially for me. I don't even know what the fairway looks like on this hole because I've never been on it. Every time I've played here, I've always been pretty much in the same spot on that right side, and in the summer, that's a brutal spot. Not great now either because of this thick cabbage. Pretty much all you can do to get out of there. Even Austin found himself on the right side on this particular day. So yeah, wrong side of the trees. You have to chip up to the green from there. Not an easy hole for me at all. And it's not one of the hardest holes in the course. The difference here, though, between me and Austin is he's a good golfer.
Well, you got lucky. It's in the fairway in front of the green.
Yeah, he also was getting used to the chipping style he needed to use with the niblick, and let's hear him talk more about that.
I think that, you know, any scratch golfer that plays in multiple grass conditions, so Bermuda, zoysia, bent, all those different types of grasses can relate to this. But if you're a Bermuda grass player, when you chip, you have to use the bounce a lot. You can't be very steep into the ball. It's more of a sweeping swing. And so when I had like the niblick, that's the same thing. You have to be very kind of handsy at the bottom, but it's more of a toss with your hand. It's less of a dig, which is what like the Midwestern northern players, we can dig the ball out, and we kind of can get away with that here in this region on our grass types. But you know, when you go to Bermuda, you don't get away with that as much. And so I noticed that it was much easier if I tried to sweep the ball as opposed to dig the ball.
You'll notice I sort of disappeared on this hole. That's because I lost that chip shot over the green and just decided to take the max I could take for handicap purposes. So we're going to move on to number 17, old number 8, Riverview, par 4, 282 yards. I like this hole a lot, especially when you watch somebody hit the ball like that off the tee. Just a gorgeous tee shot there.
Ball.
And even with all that, liking the hole, watching that tee shot, I still do that. Not sure what happened there, other than probably just too aggressive on the downswing. The thick rough was hanging the ball up a little bit, but still was able to pop it out and get it on the left side.
Sitting up.
So, yeah, I mean, just like the first hole, even bad tee shots, I'm not out of the hole altogether if I can get that second shot or third shot where I want it, and the Mashie's been pretty reliable for that. This is a very pretty hole, as you can see here. You're going up to an elevated green.
Yeah, I think it's going to be.
It's a pretty good shot there from Austin. And these holes offer the opportunity to hit my favorite shot in Hickory golf,
Good shot. Really
where I run the ball into a hill and then bounce it up. And that, as you'll see here in a second, turned out pretty well for me. Almost dropped for Austin for a birdie. So I'm just off the back of the green here. And I'll take that after the start. All right, number 18, Sunset, par 5, 502 yards. This is another one that has some bad psychic residual energy for me, as you'll see. Austin knows this hole very well, though. Stayed on the right side with his tee shot. Meanwhile, I hit my first tee shot, I don't even know where, so this is my third shot using the Tom Stewart driving iron. And tried to hit that too hard, so pulled it left. I got some distance out of it, though, but I ended up in the junk here, so I just have to chip out of this. Fortunate I was able to find it.
You're out. I'm out, though.
So, obviously not the start that I wanted to this hole. I can only hope next time I play here I can erase some of the bad juju I've built up over the last 3 visits. That's a pretty good shot there with the driving iron. I was sitting up a little bit on the rough. I think Austin was trying to get back over into the fairway there. I ended up hitting a tree and kept him on the right side, so he just decided to take the clearer route up to the green there by staying on the right side of the trees all the way up to the green and then trying to chip it over, which you'll see in a bit. It's a pretty good approach. A little bit of an elevated green to cover when you get up there, so mine came up just a bit short.
Oh, beauty. Oh, man. That was a great shot. I know a lot of that was luck, but that was still awesome.
Yeah, that was the highlight shot of the round, in my opinion. Just a lot of luck, but also a lot of skill in there to get that through the tree branches. He obviously wasn't planning on trying to get through the tree branches, but you know, when you know the course pretty well, you get the breaks. That was the voice of head pro Tim Jarman, who was watching us from the pro shop. This is a tricky downhill putt, but I read it just right. A good way to finish out the front 9, which is actually the current back 9. 57 gross, 46 net. Let's see if I can improve on that on the back 9, which is the current front 9. Number 1, it's a par 5, easy street, 506 yards, probably my favorite hole on the course. It's a nice way to start the round. You've got a nice wide fairway. And there's another beautiful tee shot from Austin. I had a nice tee shot there myself, using the driving iron here from the fairway. That's about as good as I can hit it. Yeah, there's something to be said for holes that just suit your eye well. You just feel more confident in the shots you put into it, and this is definitely one of those holes for me. Excellent touch there from Austin with the niblick.
Very nice.
He still wasn't quite comfortable doing the kind of Hickory golf run-up shots, you know, bump and run type shots with the mashie when he was close to the green, but he was using the niblick just like he would a modern wedge really well. I was impressed with that because that niblick has some soul, but not nearly as much bounce, obviously, as a modern wedge would. Yeah, he knew this green really well, and this pin placement just put too much on that putt to run it through the break. Would have been nice for that one to drop for me, but I'll take a bogey. All right, splash number 2. This is old number 11. Par 4, 307 yards. Uphill from the tee. Austin got under that one a little bit, but still ended up hitting it straight. I'm back to the Brassie here because I want to try to figure out what's going on. That was just a weak tee shot there. Barely made it up into the fairway. Just off on the right side. Using the mashie here. The play here is you just want to get it down to the bottom of the hill so that you can basically lay up in front of the pond. And that's what both Austin and I are trying to do here. Just run probably about a 100-yard shot and let it run down the hill. Mine ended up in the rough, so this is a tough spot for me. I'm not very good at that shot, and I tried to hit it too hard, and namesake of the hole there, splash. That's how you do it, though.
Oh, great shot.
And you might recognize that shot. That was the drone shot from the very beginning of the video. So I had to take a drop here behind the pond. Not an easy shot for me, but that was the Mashie Niblick, McGregor Mashie Niblick with the flange sole, and hit that shot pretty well. Yeah, that cup in the back of the green here, basically every putt that we had was uphill to the cup. Number 3 is FULLWOOD, par 3, 183 yards. Got some water to get over here right off the tee. Austin was trying to hit kind of a low runner there. He actually tried to hit a shot low, but went a little too low on him. Kind of worm burned it up into the fairway. That was the Tom Stewart driving iron. Pretty happy with that.
I think that's going to work. Oh.
Pin was in a tough spot today. It was in the front of the green, so didn't have a lot of green to work with on that chip. And I hit that too clean, so I'm headed to the back of the green.
Oh, good run at it.
Great chip there from Austin.
Good.
Yeah, pretty good 2-putt there. I'll take that. Number 4, par 3, 158 yards. It's called Lizard. This one was right at the stick, just a little long.
Oh, just a little far, but good shot.
You'll notice we're playing another par 3, back-to-back par 3 situation, just like the back nine, so that creates some interesting symmetry between the front and back nines. And I'm not sure exactly when the routing changed, but there's a course map that I believe dates to the 1920s that's hanging in the clubhouse that shows the current day number 10 as the old number 1. That's why we chose the routing that we're playing today. And also on that map are 18 additional holes north of the golf course that we're playing. That's now currently a regional airport, and those 18 holes disappeared during the Great Depression. In the little bit of research I was able to do on the history of the course, specifically through the book The Golf Course by Jeffrey Cornish and Ron Whitten, they mention 3 holes on that 18 holes that no longer exist being attributed to Perry Maxwell, which I think is interesting. I'll get back into that in a second. This is number 5, The Arch, par 4, 295 yards. And another beautiful drive from Austin, who's really finding his groove at this point with the Brassie. Back to the 18 holes that no longer exist. Cornish and Whitten mentioned Perry Maxwell as having designed 3 holes there, and also Chet Mendenhall, who is a regional architect of note. He also is attributed with a few holes here that no longer exist. And then in the 1960s, it seems that Robert Dunning, who is another regional architect, may have done some restorative work to the layout that we're playing today.
I think that's going to be okay.
From what Austin's been able to find out through news clippings, this course, this 18-hole course we're playing today, is pretty much what it's been since the 1920s, with just a few improvements or adjustments here and there. This was a tough pin to get to, but Austin and I both got the ball back there. Just couldn't read this putt and start it high enough. Moving on to number 6, Brassie, par 4, 343 yards. Playing this hole from the orange tees is a lot of fun with Hickories because it causes you to ask some questions of your ability. So if you're a big hitter like Austin, his question, I don't think he realized he needed to ask himself that question, was, can I get it over the ravine from here, or do I need to lay up a little bit? There's a ravine that cuts the fairway in half, and I'm well short of that here, as you're going to see in a second. and put myself in good position using the Tom Stewart driving iron. This is pretty much the perfect setup for me. You know, good drive off the tee about 200 yards, and then sets up this shot here going into the green. That one came up just a bit short. But Austin hit his down to the bottom of the fairway here and had this rough to contend with. So I think if he played this hole again, he might have reconsidered using driver off the tee or BRASSIE off the tee, and might have tried to go iron just to stay in the bottom of that first fairway. The camera conked out on us here after these two chips, so you don't get the putts, but rest assured we finished up this hole strong to the best of my memory. All right, so that's about as close as we're going to get. Number 7, Thornbed, par 4, 312 yards. So getting back into the history of the course real quick, because I know what I'm about to do next, and I'd rather not talk about that. The family that owned the land prior to 1912, when Bendelow started working on his layout here, was the Odell family. And there's a very interesting history with them and this course that Austin found some info about.
You mentioned earlier that the Odells were the greens or the grounds crew for the original course?
Yeah, the original design. They were the family kind of helped maintain the ground. So that's
cool.
kind of neat.
Yeah, so did they have some, like, what was their role in having the course put here on their land? Did they have, like, how did that work?
Yeah, so to my knowledge, they approached the city, which kind of goes back to what we were talking about on the course. I believe that in their, they kind of had their own kind of 9 holes established in some sort of way, kind of as like maybe just a fun to play, you know, golf was kind of new in the area. And then I think that they approached the city and said, we will give you the land, but it must maintain a golf course, I believe, for 100 years. I believe there was a 100-year clause
on the
land.
Interesting.
That had to remain a golf course.
Okay.
From what I've been told.
So yeah, it's interesting to me in a lot of ways that the family that owned the land was able to maintain a role in the golf course by being its grounds crew. And the cabin that you saw Austin speaking from was actually the cabin that they lived in. It was originally sited about maybe a couple miles away from its current location, but it's been basically on the site of the golf course for over 100 years at this point. And they've built the clubhouse, current day clubhouse, around it. But it's just really cool how over the years they've basically maintained and retained the history of the golf course in a really meaningful way. When you walk through the clubhouse, you see all kinds of photos of the notable players that have played here. Chick Evans. Austin told me a story about Ray Ouimet, who's Francis Ouimet's brother, who used to be a member here when he lived near Kansas City and actually won a tournament here in the early 20s. Just a lot of really interesting history and people that have been involved at the course over the years. And Austin has now, you know, become the kind of the caretaker of that history and has a true interest in keeping that history alive, which I think is awesome. I've said it before a few times on this channel already that I'm consistently impressed with how much younger golfers know about the history of the game and how strong their appreciation is for the history of the game, and Austin's no exception to that. All right, moving on to 8, par 4, 316 yards. Austin had a bit of an audience here from some of the members, so he wanted to make sure that he piped this one right down the middle. And he did just that. That same audience was sticking around to watch my tee shot, so I was trying real hard not to do what I did on the last hole and was happy to get it off the tee. This is another shot that I'm starting to really enjoy with Hickory clubs. So I got myself in trouble here on the right side. I've got these trees to the right of me, and the green is around the bend there from the trees. So I have to try to wrap this from left to right and basically choke up a little bit, open my stance using the Tom Stewart driving iron, and just kind of try to hit a low runner that slices on purpose. And I was really happy with where this ball ended up, not almost up to the green, or at least green high on the left side. Unfortunate chip there, but yeah, that's a shot I'm getting more comfortable with and really enjoy executing. Nice run at a birdie there from Austin. That guy in the red jacket there is Jason Cole. He's the man behind the drone footage you saw at the top of the video. Him and his wife, Courtney, run the Excelsior Citizen, which is the hyper-local news organization here in town. That was a nice putt to finish up number 8 with. All right, number 9, FAIRACRE, par 5, 404 yards. Another beauty to end the round on from Austin off the tee. And I managed a pretty good drive of my own to wrap things up. Chunked that one just a little bit, but still got a little bit of distance out of it. Haven't shown you any shots of Austin using the BRASSIE from the fairway. This wasn't one of his best. His best was actually on number 1, and one of the few shots that I didn't get on video of him, but it was a beauty. It was just a straight bullet. Showed him that he could hit that club off of the, the deck just as well as he could off the tee. And I was really happy as the person who put his clubs together to see him strike the ball so well with so many of his clubs. He's even starting to get a little fancy with the jigger here. This is under trees. He has to kind of chip that under the tree and get it up.
I think that'll work.
Yep, just got him up on the green. This pin placement was tricky today, though. If you didn't get the ball pretty much right next to the hole, you're going to be running past the hole, especially from the position that Austin is in. Just see this ball pick up speed here toward the hole. That sent him all the way off the green. And then you really got to give this a lot to get it back up close to the hole. That'll wrap his round up, though. I've got this short one here, but again, if you don't get it in the hole, you're headed down the hill.
No! It's going to take off. There it goes. Yeah, this pin is
Yeah. Tough way to finish here on the green.
All right.
Made sure to hit that past the hole. So that'll wrap things up here at Excelsior Springs Golf Course. Thanks for watching, folks. Hope you enjoyed this course vlog. Hope you enjoyed watching Austin in his first round with Hickory's, and I want to thank him for the invite to come out to Excelsior Springs. I had a blast. Finished up the front 9 with a 53 gross, 42 net for a final score of 110 gross, 98 net. That raises my season average to 102 gross, 85 net. Let's see if I can get that down next time. Until then, thanks for watching. That'll do it for this week. I got a video coming up again next week. In the meantime, here's one from the archive for you to check out. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Thanks, folks. Take care.